Welcome to the How to DIY Year-Round Maintenance video. In this video, we're going to look at a number of tasks that should be completed around the home throughout the year. To begin with, we're going to take a look at loft and pipe lagging. When lagging a loft, it's important to wear protective clothing. That's to say gloves, masks, goggles, and overalls. The reason for this is that the lagging is made up of glass wool, and it can be very irritating when it comes into contact with the skin. Carefully roll the lagging in between the loft timbers, taking care not to tread on the supported plaster ceilings. Cut off lengths as required using a sharp knife. Continue to work across the loft space. A space should be left around the outside of the loft to allow for air circulation. It's advisable to discard the protective clothing when you've finished, as it will be contaminated with the glass fibers. All exposed pipework should also be lagged, especially in garages, as they're prone to freezing during the winter months. Lagging is now readily available to suit different pipe diameters. It's a very simple process, as it usually comes pre-split along the length. Simply cut to size with a junior hacksaw and position over the exposed pipework. Make sure the lagging is fitted properly around the pipes, leaving service and drain-off valves visible. When fitting the lagging around junctions, cut out pieces to get a good fit, as shown here. To put a longer length on, run the hacksaw blade down the split, open up the end, and slide onto the pipework. Fitting a service valve. We recommend fitting service valves to all water-fed appliances. This will enable you to isolate any of the appliances should you need to carry out any work, eliminating the need to drain down your cold water system. Here we're fitting a service valve to an outside tap. Begin by turning off the incoming water supply at the stop tap. Turn on the tap to drain down any water in the pipes. If there's a drain-off valve nearby, open this as well. Mark the position of the valve on the pipe. Remove the tap from the wall. Now cut this section of pipe out with a pipe slice or hacksaw. As with all compression fittings, a sealant paste is required. Take the valve apart. Place the nut and ring over the pipe. Apply a quantity of sealant paste over the end of the pipe, as shown. Assemble to fitting and hand tighten. Repeat this process with the other side of the fitting and pipe. Reassemble, making sure the isolation screw is facing outwards for easy access. Refit the tap back to the wall. Tighten the fitting with 2 sets of grips or spanners. Turn the water supply back on and check the valve functions correctly. Cleaning a sink trap. This is something that should be done on a regular basis, as a build-up of debris is inevitable. Remove the sink trap by unscrewing the knurled plastic nut. Empty the contents into a bowl. Always replace the rubber washer before refitting. Replace and tighten the nut by hand. Stop tap repairs. A common fault with most stop taps is a leaking gland. Begin by removing the gland behind the stop tap. Twist a length of PTFE tape together to form a strand. Wrap this around the exposed shaft behind the thread. Replace the gland and tighten with a pair of grips. Remove the excess tape and turn the supply back on. Regrouting and sealing. Over a period of time, the grout in between ceramic tiles becomes stained and dirty, especially where a lot of water comes into contact with it, for example, kitchens, bathrooms and showers. Remove the old grout with a regrouting tool. Remove 2 or 3 millimeters. Brush off all the dust from the tiles and the surfaces. Always wear rubber gloves before starting to grout. Spread the grout with your applicator, making sure all the gaps are filled. Fill in any screw holes that are no longer required. After completing, wipe over with a damp sponge. And finally, wipe over with a lint-free cloth. It's always advisable to seal the tiles where they meet work surfaces, etc. Apply a length of masking tape along the surface, 3 or 4 millimeters away from the wall, masking off any returns. Put the tape onto the vertical face of the tile, again 3 or 4 millimeters away from the work surfaces. Once the entire area has been masked off, run a bead of silicone between the 2 pieces of tape. Run a dampened plastic spatula along the silicon bead to form a V. Leave the silicon to form a skin, then remove the masking tape. A neat, perfect seal has now been achieved. Repointing. Severe weather conditions causes old mortar to crumble, which becomes porous. If this happens, it will require repointing. Remove any loose mortar with the point of your pointing trowel. Dampen down the wall with water to avoid quick drying out. Use small amounts of mortar on your pointing trowel and position carefully between the bricks. Take care not to get mortar on the brick faces. Apply mortar in small amounts in between the vertical joints to begin with. After the vertical joints have been repointed, start on the horizontal joints. You might want to practice the pointing up procedure in a small, inconspicuous area before attempting a large, prominent area. Remove any excess with the edge of the trowel. Repairing leadwork. It's important to check that the leadwork is secure. Here you can see that this step flashing is away from the wall. Reposition the lead back into place and make sure it's tucked well into the joint. A lead wedge can be made to secure the step flashing back into the joint. Cut a strip about 20 millimeters wide. Tightly roll it up together. Cut off slightly oversized compared with the brickwork joint. Remove any excess. Now flatten down one side to form a wedge shape. Firmly place in between the bricks and lead flashing. Hammer it in firmly. The edge of a chisel can be used.